Hi everyone, it's Rachel here at Walk the Talk and welcome to the Walk the Talk podcast episode number 4. Believe that we are on episode number 4 of the podcast already, and I have a great guest with me today. Her name is Fiona Thomas from FionaLikesToBlog.com. Fiona's blog is a blog about mental health, and I highly recommend you go over and check it out once you've finished listening to the podcast. So we talk about a lot of things on this episode. But one of the things that we talk quite a lot about is body positivity and body confidence. We also talk about both of our past diet history and how we both got away from strange dieting behaviours and restrictive diets, disordered eating, emotional eating and food guilt, and actually managed to get away from that and now have freedom with food. So we talk about how we stopped dieting and started to live our lives without the restriction of stepping on a set of scales every morning, which is awesome, and I'm sure a lot of you that are listening to this podcast will take a lot of good stuff out of that. We also talk about our previous history of mental health or mental illness and how Fiona and I both got to the point where it doesn't affect our day-to-day life as much anymore. So that's some practical tips there for you as well on that side of things. So enjoy the interview, and as always, please leave a positive review on iTunes. It really does make a difference to the way that the podcast is sent out, so please do that. Enjoy the interview and speak to you soon. Since we were kids, we grew up together on the same little quaint quiet street in countryside Scotland, and then we didn't speak to each other for quite a long time until we got back in touch when Fiona came to my fitness classes, and we've kind of been chatting ever since. So welcome Fiona to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thank you for agreeing to come on and be interviewed by me. So the purpose of this podcast really, and the reason I wanted to speak to Fiona was we both have a history of mental illness, and we both have a more recent history of overcoming that, and we both have an interest in raising awareness of mental illness and mental health. And Fiona runs a very successful blog. You've probably seen me share quite a few of her articles, and even more so recently, been really enjoying reading a lot of the content that Fiona puts out on social media and on her blog, and I will make sure that you get a link to that in the notes of the podcast. So with both of us having a history of mental health problems and stuff, I wanted to ask Fiona if she would share her journey with us today, and I know we only have half an hour or so, but Fiona, if you wouldn't mind giving us a brief but detailed history of, I suppose we can kind of call it why you started your blog.
Yeah,
from the beginning.
I think like I'm in a good place now that I am like 5 years since I was diagnosed. So I think if you'd asked me, 4 or 5 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to give you like a brief but detailed description. But now it's kind of, you can look back and you can kind of see, why things went the way they did. But really, I basically was in quite a high stress job, maybe not high stress for other people, but it was high stress for me. I was in a management job, and I worked for, don't want to say where I worked, but a very busy tourist attraction, and I managed the catering outlet there, and basically for probably about 3 or 4 months I just felt like I was spinning plates. I felt like very out of control. I felt like I was very nervous all the time. I didn't know at the time that was anxiety. I was getting just really upset about minor things, and my temper was really short. And one day I just thought, I just don't feel myself anymore. I just felt like the walls were closing in on me, and I felt like every day I couldn't go on. Like I just was not coping. And after I picked up the phone, I think about 3 or 4 times, and hung up before I spoke to the doctor, because I was scared that no one was going to take me seriously and that it wasn't a big deal. So eventually I went to the doctor, and they at first diagnosed me with stress, and then after a week I went back and they diagnosed me with depression, which was like a bit of a shock because I didn't really know that was what was going on. And so, to cut a long story short, I didn't work for 6 months. I was unable to work. Basically, as soon as I got told I had depression, simultaneously a weight was lifted off my shoulders, but I also fell into a deeper depression. So for 6 months I was unable to work, and then after those 6 months I managed to gradually go back into part-time work, and I've really been in part-time work ever since, and that's been 5 years. But during that time I started a blog just out of boredom, really. I did some writing for some websites just for fun, and then through that people were asking me for my link. They were saying, if you're writing for this website, tell us where other people can find the rest of your work, and I didn't have that place. So through that I just decided to start a blog, and I wrote about fitness, because at that time that was my major kind of form of self-medication,
right?
was fitness. And after about 2 years I wrote a post. I think the first post I wrote was called "The Truth About Giving Up Alcohol." That was the first really personal post that I wrote, and I got loads of good comments and loads of interaction from people. So that's when I realised that probably opening up about my mental health was going to be a positive thing for me and for everybody else. So
yeah, over
time I just opened up more and more and became more honest with myself and with my readers, and everybody's responded really well to it. So that's why I am doing what I'm doing now.
That's interesting. I had a similar sort of experience with mental health, but in a very different way, in that it wasn't my job that started the sort of felt the pressure. It was my health, but I'm probably going to save that for a completely different podcast. But one sec, my dog's just chewing something. Wow. And here is the part of the podcast where I had to stop the recording for a few seconds until I went to sort out the dog, who had stolen something out of the bathroom and was tearing it apart. So that is why there is a bit of a gap in the podcast recording here, and my editing skills are not good enough yet to actually fix it properly. So sorry about the big gap, but here we are back to the interview with Fiona again. Enjoy the rest of the show. Okay, so you're running your blog now. How's that going?
It is excellent, very busy, and I'm definitely still in that. Like, it's mostly a hobby, but some people still want to pay me for some stuff, so it's just finding the balance, and I'm definitely still like grinding really hard to try and make it my full-time job. So it is a lot of work, but the fact what I'm writing about is so like close to my heart that it's easy to write about. So I feel like I never run out of things to talk about.
That's good.
Yeah,
because I think that's like a lot of the time one of the problems that I have with with the blogging that I do is sometimes I think, am I repeating myself over and over and over again here? Or is this what people actually want to listen, like want to read and want to listen to? But I'm just so passionate about it that I could talk about like how important it is that you get to your bed by 10 o'clock like every day. Because
but sometimes people need to hear the same thing again and again. And I know that not everybody goes directly to my blog to read my stuff. So they might have read one thing and not read another. So I just kind of definitely let rip on the blog. I try not to. I'm not there to please anyone. I'm just there to kind of like be honest and also try and be motivational for people.
You've written quite a lot of things about body positivity and like learning to become comfortable with the body that you have instead of always striving to get, to look different, to feel different, to conform to a specific set of rules. And that is quite congruent with a lot of the things that we do at Walk the Talk, and a lot of the sort of the way that I try to come across is that we have to sort of learn to be comfortable with who we are before we can. It's okay to want to be better, and it's okay to want to change, but learning to be comfortable with who you are first of all is quite important. And you've written quite a lot of. I think a lot of the things that I've read that you've written have been sort of around about that. Is that something that you have personal experience with?
Yeah, definitely. I have been like unhappy with my body since I was probably about 15. I was always like way taller than everyone else, even though now I'm like I'm quite short, I would say. But at primary school, I don't know if you remember, like I was like way taller than everyone.
I don't remember that actually.
Maybe I had a complex about it, but I was like taller.
Isn't that weird though? You probably did, but then I don't remember that.
Yeah, and I always felt like whenever my mum's friends and that were around, they would say, "Oh, you're a big girl, aren't you?" And I'd be like, "Oh, like I don't think that's a good thing."
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. But yeah, I remember I was a size 7 shoe when I was at primary school. I'm sure.
Okay,
definitely
had
big,
quite.
right?
Yeah, that's quite big. That's big feet for primary school.
I know, but I'm still a size 7, so obviously just like peaked very early. But yeah, I always remember being like a bit bigger than everyone else, and not to put any blame onto anyone, but my mum was always on a diet when I was young, so I think I just always thought like, oh, it's okay to go on a diet. That's what you do if you want to lose weight. So I've been on a diet since I was about 17 until just about a year and a half ago. I'm 30 now. And I think I just realised that I was putting all this energy into feeling terrible about myself and trying to force my body to be a certain shape, when one day I just thought, well, what if I put all that energy into something else? Because it's taken up a lot of my brain power, and it's taken up a lot of my time, and I think people must just be sick of me talking about wanting a smaller waist and a bigger bum. And I think I realised as well that the results that I was looking for, I could get, and I did get very thin at one point, but the things that I had to do weren't normal.
No.
Because I was forcing myself to be a shape that just wasn't natural. Because I was using like the slimming teas and taking, I suppose you would say they were laxatives, taking just like, things that make you go to the toilet. Going to slimming classes and not wearing underwear, and not drinking water before you step on the scales, and binging on the day after the day that you've been weighed, because that's the furthest away point from when you get weighed again. Just all these strange behaviours that
the thing is though, they're not, they might seem strange behaviours now to you, but to a lot of people that are listening to this at the moment, they will be able to resonate with that, because it's something that is actually quite common. Oh yeah,
it's definitely common.
And I think a lot of the people that follow me on social media and a lot of people that will be listening to the podcast will be people who are listening to what you just said and are like, oh fuck, I am that person right now.
Yeah, like that. I think the moment I realised that was all, not only wrong but not sustainable was when I got married, because I remember I had got to the weight I wanted, obviously, for my wedding, and I felt really good in my dress and everything. And then on the day, like, me and my husband were just so happy to have all our friends and family around. It's such a cliche, obviously, on your wedding day, all your friends and family are around.
Mm-hmm.
But we had a lot of family dotted all over the UK, and they were all in the one room. And we were just so, so, so happy and so overwhelmed that everyone had came, you know, travelled to be there. And I just remember thinking, like, if I hadn't lost all this weight, nobody would care.
Yeah.
And everybody looked so nice in their outfits. And some of them were, you know, a size 16, 18. And I just thought, I just love the way everyone looks. Mm-hmm. And I would hate to think that they don't know that they look amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought, like, this is so much more, like, friends and family is just so much more important than what you look like. And everybody is here because they're happy for me. Mm-hmm. So I must be an acceptable person the way I am. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally does. Like, I think we all kind of hit that. We all kind of, in different parts of our life, hit that moment where perspective hits you.
Yeah.
Like, I've had issues as well, like with food in the past, and that still raise their ugly head every now and again. Like, very, very restrictive diets that I put myself through back in, I'm talking not even that long ago, when I became a fitness professional, and I felt like I was under pressure to look a certain way in order to fit in, or to look like a fitness instructor. And I've had a few moments in the past, and one in the not so distant past actually, where you look around and you think, do you know what? See what I've got here? It's actually pretty fucking great. Like, but I can't actually see it because I'm so focused on weighing myself or judging the way that I feel on what numbers are like there on the scale. Like, I used to have this obsession, right, that if I was over 65 kilos, for some reason, even if it was like 65.1, for some reason that day, even if I had been like 64.9 the day before I was a good person. Mm-hmm. The day after, if I weighed 65.1 kilos, that was it. Like, I was going on a fucking diet right now. Mm-hmm. I was lazy, I was fat. I wasn't fat, I was a size 12. Let's be honest here. I had major issues. Still occasionally fall into that trap. Mm-hmm. I don't think it ever really leaves you. I think, like, sometimes you do, your brain switches, but you can switch back. But then you look around and you think, why am I wasting all this energy giving a shit about, like, a number on a scale? Like, all I need to do is go to the toilet and I'll be 64.9 kilos again, and I can be happy now because of a certain number.
Yeah.
And I don't think you even need to have suffered from any sort of mental illness to get to that point. Like,
no.
It just...
In fact, for me, like, when I was most fixated on it was when I was in recovery. Mm-hmm. And everybody thought that I was doing really well because I was back at work and I was super slim, like the slimmest I'd ever been. I was like a size 10. I'd say I'm now a 14 to 16, and I'm naturally a 14, I'd say. Mm-hmm. And I was at the gym, like, 7 days a week, but that was multiple times a day. Wow. And doing a slimming class. And on the outside, I was like the picture of health, but really inside, I was like tortured. Mm-hmm. Because every single thing that I ate had like a number attached to it, and guilt.
Mm. How did you get away from that?
Our honeymoon was an all-you-can-eat, like all-inclusive thing, and we just joke and say that I started eating then and never stopped.
So it took like a massive life event for you to look around and realise that there is more to life than counting every single bit of food that goes into your mouth.
I got married, and then 6 months later we relocated. We lived in Glasgow, and my husband got offered a job, so now we live in Birmingham. And that definitely, like, don't think I realised how kind of claustrophobic I was finding it in Glasgow. And when I moved to Birmingham, I just felt like I had a new lease of life, like felt so free to be in a new city that never been in before. And I think just all that external like stimulation kind of made me stop focusing like inwardly, and made me kind of think more about the bigger picture. So it was a distraction, and that was when I started working loads on my blog. So I had like I felt like I had a creative outlet that kind of all my brain power was being used on that. So I didn't really have the brain power to focus on counting calories and weighing myself all the time.
Yeah. That's interesting that you said that about when you moved, you felt like less, like you felt claustrophobic in Glasgow, but you felt like you had a sort of anonymity when you moved, and you could kind of like start again and create a different, create a different personality, a different person, and be, or even be, be yourself and not be judged by people that have known you before. And like, I can totally relate to that, because when I moved to Manchester, one of my favourite things was going into the supermarket and not bumping into people that I know. I was like,
because you said that people question what's in your basket when they see you.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know. I have a few. I've had in the past a few comments if I bump into people in the supermarket, and they'd be like, "Oh, like you can tell they're looking at what I'm buying," and they don't have to say it to like for me to notice. And I'm just like, oh, do you know what? One of these days I'm just going to go around Asda and like buy all the shit of the day and just like walk around with my trolley, be like, yeah, look, I actually am a normal person. Yeah, that was like when I moved to Manchester, that was one of the best things ever, was to walk into a supermarket and not bump into people and be this totally anonymous person that nobody knows who I am. I can go and buy a loaf of white bread and a bag of Maltesers without like, people staring at me like I've got 10 heads. It definitely made me feel a bit better now. Obviously, I'm not in Manchester anymore at the moment, but yeah, I can totally get where you're coming from there. So I think we did a live broadcast ages ago. Well, probably wasn't that long ago now, about body positivity and what practical steps people can take that are listening to that broadcast, and maybe if you haven't seen that broadcast and are just listening today, if anyone is out there that is listening to this that has listened to what we talked about dieting and the way that you feel about the way that we've felt about our bodies and food and things in the past, and is sitting there going, oh crap, I am there right now, like I am that person, and I feel stuck there. What would you say is to this person that I'm talking about? Like, what advice would you give to this person that is maybe listening to this and going, I feel like that, and I don't think I can, like, I can't find a way out. I don't think there is a way out.
First of all, it is a long process. Don't expect to wake up tomorrow and accept your body, because I'm like a year and a half probably into the process, and I feel good about my body probably about 80% of the time. There's still like, I still have days where I don't really, not necessarily don't like what I see, but I maybe feel uncomfortable. But it is a long process, so don't feel bad when you don't feel good all the time. But the thing that really helped me was to look at people, try and look at myself the way that I look at other people. So I work part-time in a sandwich shop, so I see like a high volume of people coming in and out all the time. And I mean, very rarely do I ever look at someone and think, oh, look at their body.
Yeah.
it's just not, that's just not the way we work. Well,
No.
it's not the way my mind works. I hope it's not the way most people's minds work. I tend to look at people and go, oh, she's got a lovely smile, or I really like her top, or I really, I love what she's wearing, or she's wearing something that I don't feel I'm brave enough to wear, but she's not a size 12 and she looks great. So just try and remember that all those people are probably struggling as well, but you're looking at them and you think they look great. So just try and remember that people aren't going round staring at the tiny bit of cellulite underneath your bum. They're not going around, noticing that you've got one boob slightly bigger than the other. Like, people just aren't paying that much attention. So all the small little things that niggle at you, you've got to try and just forget about them and see things the way that you see other people, and try and compliment people when you do see people looking good, especially if they maybe don't look that confident. If you see someone you think like, God, she, really love her hair, like, just take 2 seconds to tell them, and remember that all the people, you've maybe thought that about 5 or 6 people today, so chances are someone's thought that about you and they've not said anything. I know it's not all about what other people think, but it is about your perception, and just remember that your perception of yourself is always going to be worse than everyone else's.
Yes, I think it's much easier to be positive about someone else than it is to be about yourself. So if you can start by being positive about other people, then... Because
I've got one friend who's really, really, like, has always been down about her figure. And I think she's got the perfect hourglass shape, but that's what every woman wants. And I cannot see what she sees when she looks in the mirror. So, try and remember that the grass isn't always greener, and everybody always thinks that they want what someone else has got. And the other kind of practical thing that you could do today is try and use social media to your advantage, because I know a lot of people say that social media is like the root of their negative body image, especially younger women. I'd say, like, we're of a generation that we grew up without social media. Yeah. And we didn't get it until we were like 20s? 21 or something. Yeah. Kind of uni age. So I know it is hard for a lot of younger people, but obviously I use social media for my blog, so I can't just cut myself off from it. So I just try and use it to my advantage now, and I follow lots of body positive accounts, especially on Instagram and Facebook. And that's the great thing about social media, is that if somebody says something that makes you feel shit about yourself, you can unfollow them.
Yeah, exactly.
Not only unfollow them, but go and find someone with a positive message to replace them. That's why on my Instagram and Facebook, I'm constantly trying to post things that either highlight how normal it is to feel crap about yourself, or are practicing gratitude for the small things that we do love about ourselves. And I find that seems to resonate with people. So if you follow me on Instagram and Facebook, you'll get a daily dose of either positivity or reality.
Yeah, I love your Instagram stories. They're brilliant.
Yeah, I love Instagram stories.
I will put your Instagram handle and your blog and everything into the podcast notes. So if anyone's listening to this, all you need to do is tap your phone screen where the podcast logo is, and it will flip round and you'll get notes, and you'll have little links in there you can press. If you're on an iPhone, I have no idea what it looks like. I have no idea what it looks like if you're on an Android device. I am completely Android ignorant. I don't have a clue, but
Android ignorant.
Android ignorance.
First world problem.
I know. I really should get myself one of these Android devices and figure them out one day. But no, I'm going to stick with Apple because I'm a bit
Cool.
of an Apple snob.
I've actually got a whole page on my blog now dedicated to my free ebook. So
Oh yeah.
if people are looking for something in depth to read, it's about depression and just my recovery and kind of tips on how to make yourself feel better, along with the medical advice. Then you can get that there.
That's awesome. If Fiona, if you send me that direct link to the downloads, is it on your homepage of your website?
Yeah, so it's Fiona Likes to Blog / get my book.
Okay, nice and easy to remember. I will
Yeah.
put that in the notes. If you want to download Fiona's book from her website, then just click on the link and enter your name and email address, I would imagine.
Yeah, and then you can download it straight
that.
away.
And Fiona also sends some really cool emails as well to keep in touch with what she's up to. And I highly recommend that you go across and subscribe to Fiona's blog because it's awesome, and Instagram stories because it always makes you smile and makes you realise that other people are also feeling the same way you're feeling, and it's just nice to talk to Fiona, and we'll keep in touch, and we'll probably do some more podcasts in the future, I would imagine.
Awesome.
Yeah, so go download the book, go and find Fiona on Instagram at Fiona Likes to Blog, pretty much on every channel roughly.
Yeah.
And yeah, thanks Fee again for
No worries, thank you for having
joining me. You're welcome, and I will speak to you soon.
Cool, bye.
Well, a very big thank you to Fiona for joining me on the podcast today. If you want to find Fiona's blog, just go to www.fionalikes2blog.com. You'll also find all of her contact details in the show notes, so go ahead and have a look there. Make sure you connect with her. I'll be back next week for another interview. So until then, please go and leave a review on iTunes. I know I keep battering on and on and on about it, but it really makes a difference, and I would love it if you could give me a wee 5 stars, thumbs up, whatever it is that you need to do, go do that, and I will see you next week.